What is up, everyone? Maxlin here, and welcome to episode 20 of Themindhere. If I sound a little sick, that's because of allergies. But anyways, this is my bi-weekly update to you guys about upcoming projects I have for this channel, discussing what I do behind the scenes, and talking about other things that come to my mind. It also serves as a way to keep myself accountable and externally motivated to get my work done. If you're interested in how I make my music and videos, feel free to look at previous episodes. Welcome to all of you who are here for the first time. If you like my content and want to see more, please consider subscribing. So, last episode I promised you guys that I would put out a transcription, and I did. So if you want to check it out, feel free to go ahead. It's up here in the card. But it was about a week late, so I apologize for that. Part of it was because of the art process. It took a lot longer than I expected to make that thumbnail. So I was trying out a different thing with the perspective with the piano keyboard, and the details in the piano keyboard were quite tedious to make, and I messed up quite a bit, so that took a long time. But the other part of it is on me, totally on me, because I stumbled a little bit during the past 2 weeks, and my productivity took a little dip, so that's on me. I'm still working on myself, working on my systems, all of that. It's part of the learning process. I'm not going to make excuses, but it is part of the process of me learning, but that did take a hit on my upload schedule, so that's why I was out a little late. Now, with the final results, I'm actually quite happy with it. The music part, I already had that, so I'm happy with that. But the art part, I did try a few new things, and it turned out pretty nicely with, I think, the details and some of the little ornamentations I put into it. There are some areas I can improve on, definitely, for sure, and some areas of the processes where I messed up on, and I can make it a lot smoother in the future. So there are areas of improvement I can make on a lot of my work that I do, but I am happy with it, and I will continue to move forward to make sure my future work is better. The next project I have on my channel is dedicated to Father's Day. It's going to be a transcription of Not All Heroes Wear Capes by Owl City. And this is a transcription, a piano cover that I wanted to do because originally what I had planned for Father's Day was to play the piano version on the piano for my dad, but I didn't find a suitable piano version, so the whole purpose of this channel, or the whole origin of this channel, was because I wanted to play piano for some songs, but there weren't any good piano covers or sheet music, so again, this is where I go and create my own. So that's why this is going to be the project I'm going to be working on until Father's Day rolls around. Hopefully I'll be able to get everything ready and not only upload that video, but also learn this song and play it on Father's Day. Now, one thing that I do think is worth celebrating a little bit is that this is the 20th episode of Themindhere. So it's been 20 videos every 2 weeks of me updating you guys about what I'm doing, what's going on my channel, and some of my thoughts. So that's a worthwhile achievement. But if we're being honest, it's only an achievement that's worthwhile because of the number. 20 is a nice round number, right? I could have celebrated at 18 or 19 or 23. Right? But 20 is such a nice number, and that it's just a good achievement to cross that threshold. 23 isn't really a special number to get across, right? But milestones here are important, right? Getting to the 20th video of Themindhere shows the dedication that is continuing and the support for this, right? So it is important, but these milestones are only important if you have a purpose behind it. Reaching an arbitrary number is only important if you assign a meaning to it. Arbitrary numbers don't have implicit meaning. So if you're trying to reach some arbitrary bank account number or arbitrary subscriber number, you have to have a purpose. If you don't, then it's just going for a means rather than an ends. So we have to be careful of that. But these arbitrary milestones are important if we assign meaning to it. Now, I know this topic is going to get me some flack for sure. Some people think that if you're poo-pooing against perfection, then you're not working hard enough or you're not aiming high enough. And some other people strongly believe that if you do look for perfection, that you're not realistic with your goals. Well, I'm here to tell you that perfection doesn't exist, period. Now, how could that be? Well, if you think about it, if something or someone was able to reach the state of perfection, if someone was at the state of perfection, then you would think that quite a few people would have gotten there. If this was a possible phenomenon and somebody had reached it, then you would expect some people to, even if it was rare. And then among the people that are perfect, perfection would not be something that's distinguishing. It would lose its allure. So that wouldn't be the case, would it? And if you already reached perfection, where do you go from there? And I'm pretty confident that nothing and no one is at that state yet. So then, what about the possibility that perfection is too hard to reach right now, but it's something that's theoretically possible? I do have to concede that in theory, yes, there is perfection. I'm not disagreeing with that. But in practice, if it's so hard to get there, then in reality, nothing is perfect. So perfection doesn't exist. In theory, it does, yes, but in practice, it doesn't. So if in practice it doesn't, then what does that mean? That means you want to aim for improvement, not aim for perfection. Because aiming for perfection is going to be an endless goal that you will never achieve. But aiming for improvement is something that you can measure and you can actually see happening, right? You want to improve on each thing that you put out. One is better than the other and then better than the other. But that does imply that if you go backwards in time, your work gets worse and worse. But that's not a bad thing. That just means that you're learning from some of the mistakes and you're making your work better each time. By not focusing on something that is unobtainable, but something that is more measurable and more tangible, then you'll be able to see results and then actually want to keep going and pursuing. Eventually, you'll reach a point where to some people, it's indistinguishable from perfection. Yes, then it's basically perfect, but basically is not the same as is, strictly is perfect, right? So the important lesson here is not that perfection is not something you should go for. Of course, if you're improving, then you're aiming for perfection, but perfection doesn't exist. What we're actually doing is improving each time. So it's important that we're looking at the journey and making sure we're enjoying that journey and the process of improvement, not aiming for that unachievable ending of perfection. I'm just going to make a quick comment about some recent phenomena that have happened in the US, and this one's about emotions and rationality. So when some traumatic event happens, it's okay to be emotional. It's natural. And repressing that emotion isn't going to help you. It's going to escape somewhere else in probably less healthy ways. So being emotional is fine. That's something that we have to get through. But we also have to recognize that when we are emotional, it's really hard to make rational decisions. So when we're emotional, it's okay to express that emotion, but then to use that and make some lasting change right then, right there, that may not be the wisest thing. It may be wiser to, once that emotion settles down a little bit, that we can come in level-headed and try to see what is really going on and initiate that problem-solving procedure to get to the best solution. Emotions definitely are something that shouldn't be shunned against, but we also have to recognize that in this emotional state, there are some things that might be better, more reserved for other situations or when we are in a different state. Our question today comes from Alfred Prose. His question asks, what's your definition of problem solving? Do you use problem-solving skills when making music or transcribing? And does art in general use problem-solving more than creativity? That's a good question. So what is problem-solving then? It really breaks down into finding a problem, something that's in the way of your goal, and then getting a solution to work with that to reach your goal. So it's more of solution finding, and that's pretty much synonymous with problem solving. Reducing everything down to a problem-solution relationship, though, is oversimplifying things a bit. So we can't just use that as the only way to analyze something, but we can use it to get a good sense of what is going on, right? So if you look at art, there is a lot of problem solving involved, even if you don't think so, right? So how am I going to make this music sound this way? How am I going to make it look this way? How am I going to make my art look this way? How am I going to export it? How am I going to save this and put it in a medium that best expresses what I want it to, right? That is all problem solving. There is a problem that's in the way of your goal. You want to get a solution. And creativity really is the ability to find novel and a whole wide variety of solutions. So I'm not sure that problem solving and creativity are mutually exclusive, but more part of the same thing. And if you look at art, there is a lot of problem solving, right? But you can also look at anything else and see that there's a lot of problem solving. Problem solving is universal with human endeavors. So then what distinguishes art from other things? Well, I think it's in the goals that artists are trying to achieve, right? Artists have goals that are more aesthetically oriented, or some things that are much more almost psychological in how we think and feel based off of some other inputs. And sometimes it could be trying to deliver a message not in the way you would in a book with a lot of descriptions, but in some kind of more obscure feeling related, right? So that is what distinguishes art. It's in the goals and not in how much problem solving there is, because everything has problem solving. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Thank you everyone for listening. I appreciate the support you all have given me. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave it down in the descriptions, down in the comments section down below. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.